I told her over breakfast. Eggs, toast, fresh orange juice, all the usual Sunday morning comfort. The kind of morning that should have felt calm, grounding. But I'd been thinking about this for months. I'm retiring, I said, putting my fork down. Next month. A silence. Not thoughtful silence, sharp. Like a glass cracking. Retiring. Megan blinked, half laughing. You're 45, Jack. I know, I said. I'm done with the grind. But, what do you mean? You can't just stop working. I can, I said. And I am. She stared at me like I'd told her I was moving to Mars. To be fair, I understood her reaction. For 15 years I'd been the breadwinner, VP at a top tech firm, pulling in bonuses, stock options, equity. We lived in a 5-bedroom home in Orange County. Drove German cars. Took 2 vacations a year, 1 domestic, 1 bucket list. She always had what she wanted, and she knew it. Megan had seen the accounts, of course. She knew we had savings, investments, even a few rental properties. But I never told her everything, not because I didn't trust her, but because I learned not to rely on anyone else's understanding of long-term vision. What she didn't know, 2 years ago, I went in deep on a private AI fund. Quiet, risky, promising. And now it had paid off. Starting next quarter, I'd be making more in dividends than I ever did at the company. But I didn't tell her that part. Not yet. I wanted it to be a surprise. A gift. I'd imagined it 100 times, the look on her face when I showed her the numbers. I was planning a trip to Hawaii, first class, no budget. Maybe a new beach house. Something small, just for us. A fresh start. But in that moment, across the table, all I saw was fear. You're serious, she said finally. This isn't a joke. I'm serious, I nodded. And what are we supposed to do? Just live on savings. Partially, I said. And investments. I've been planning this. For how long? Years. That was the wrong answer. She stood up from the table, walked around the kitchen like something might explain itself to her. Like the fridge might whisper reassurance. I don't get it, she said. You worked so hard to get here. The top. Why throw it away now? I'm not throwing it away. I'm claiming peace. You don't see what I see. The burnout, the constant pressure. I've paid my dues. It's time to enjoy the life we built. She turned back to me, eyes narrow. No, it's the life you built. You're walking away from that, and you didn't even ask me. That hit harder than it should have. I didn't argue. Because she wasn't entirely wrong. I had made this decision alone, not out of disrespect, but out of self-preservation. I knew what high-stress corporate life was doing to me. The migraines, the waking up at 3 a.m. to check Slack, the chest tightness that came and went like a warning shot. She loved the lifestyle. I loved building it. But I'd reached the finish line. She wasn't ready to stop running. The next few days were tight. She tried to be normal, made coffee, worked on her yoga schedule, posted cheerful brunch selfies with friends. But I could feel the resentment settling beneath her skin. I overheard her on the phone one night. No, I swear to God, he just said it like it was nothing. Retiring. At 45. Who does that? A pause. Well, yeah, he has money. But not forever money. Not yacht money. That made me smile, not because of the insult, but because of how wrong she was. She had no idea what I'd done. I wanted to believe it was just temporary, her panic. That it would pass once I showed her the full picture. That maybe, just maybe, she'd see the beauty in slowing down. In breathing. But deep down, I knew Megan. She didn't value peace. She valued power. And without my title, my income, my prestige, she saw less value in me. She didn't say it out loud. Yet. But I felt it. In her voice. In the way she stopped asking how my day was. In the way she started dressing up more often, not for me, but for her. Or maybe for someone else. A week after I turned in my resignation, I found her sitting in the living room, scrolling something on her phone. She quickly tilted it away as I passed by. A reflex. The kind of thing you don't notice, unless you're already looking. That was the moment something shifted in me. The moment when the surprise trip to Hawaii was canceled in my head. The moment I realized I needed to watch. Not talk. Not convince. Just watch. I'd given her everything. And now, for the first time, I wanted to see who she really was, without everything. 2 weeks after I retired, Megan stopped saying good morning. Not all at once. Just less often. The little touches, too, a hand on my shoulder as she passed, a kiss on the cheek before yoga. Gone. She said she was adjusting to the new dynamic. I didn't push it. I just noted it, like a scientist logging changes in behavior before a storm. I started waking up early, keeping my routines. Gym at 6. Coffee at 7. I read investment reports, checked market trends, reviewed dividend schedules. I wasn't idle, just invisible. She, on the other hand, seemed busier than ever. Every weeknight was catching up with the girls, yoga at the new studio, wine night. Saturdays used to be ours. Now they belonged to her phone. I asked once, lightly, "You seeing someone I should know about?" She rolled her eyes and said, if I wanted a second job, sure. The way she said it, not joking, not quite serious, stuck with me. One afternoon I heard her on a Zoom call in the bedroom. Her voice was soft, flirty, laughing more than usual. I stood in the hallway just long enough to catch one line. "Well, you're the only partner I'd actually want to sign with." Partner? Megan didn't work in law, sales, or tech. She taught yoga part-time and occasionally hosted workshops at wellness retreats. So who exactly was she partnering with? I didn't ask. I just took a photo of the call through the cracked door. The name in the top corner, B. Carver. Interesting. That night, I checked our joint calendar. She'd added a private client session from 7 to 9 p.m. on Thursday. I followed that up by checking the GPS app we used for our cars. The one we installed years ago for safety. She'd turned off location sharing. Subtle. Calculated. Confirmed. I didn't spiral. I prepared. I started backing up everything: financial records, property titles, investment portfolios. I met with a lawyer I trusted, asked about separation strategy hypothetically. He smiled. Most men only come in after the disaster. You're here during the tremor. That's rare. I nodded. I'm not looking for revenge. Just control. He raised an eyebrow. Same thing, depending on who's watching. The next day, I found her purse open on the kitchen counter. Inside, 2 phones. I only recognized one. The second had a dark purple case and no lock screen, like it was made for quick access. I didn't dig. I didn't need to. That phone wasn't for business. It was for escape. I started treating her like a stranger. Not coldly, just distant. Polite. Formal. Have a good class today. Let me know if you're back for dinner. No worries if not. She noticed. One night, she asked, "You okay?" "I'm fine. You seem different." I smiled. "So do you." She didn't ask what I meant. She just went back to scrolling through Instagram. I didn't bother checking what she was looking at. I already knew it wasn't me. By then, the first dividend payment had hit my account. More than I expected. Enough to live off comfortably. Luxuriously, even. For years. I took a screenshot. Saved it to a private folder. Not to show off, but to remember, this is the moment you no longer need her. I thought about printing it and framing it. Instead, I started shopping for condos near Laguna Beach. 1 bedroom. Ocean view. Quiet. Just for me. A week later, I followed her one evening. Not to catch her. Just to confirm. She said she was doing a private yoga session. Instead, she drove to a restaurant in Newport and walked inside with a tall man in a navy blazer. Not a hug. A kiss. Not awkward. Familiar. I didn't take a photo. Didn't need to. The picture was already burned into memory. She got home after midnight. I was in bed, pretending to be half asleep. She slid in next to me and whispered, "Hope I didn't wake you." "No," I said. Pause. "You okay?" "I'm good." Long silence. She turned over. No kiss. No, I love you. Just quiet betrayal under the same roof. That was when I decided this wasn't a mistake on her part. This was a choice. She thought I'd slowed down, that I was less useful now, that I'd become predictable. She forgot who I was before all this, the man who built everything from nothing. She thought I was retired. No, I was just getting started. She thought I didn't notice, that I was too busy relaxing or adjusting to retirement to care. But I saw everything, not just the second phone, not just the deleted calendar events. I saw how she looked at me now, like a product past its shelf life. A month ago, Megan bragged to her friends that I could retire tomorrow and still cover all our bills. Now, she complained to the same group chat that I was coasting and trying to live like a monk. She didn't know I'd seen those messages. Because that second phone? She left it unlocked again. And this time, I took it. Just for a night. Backed up the texts. Screenshotted the photos. Voice notes. Everything. Then I put it back exactly where it was. Charged, face down, like nothing ever happened. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not from pain, but clarity. She was cheating. Emotionally. Physically. Financially, even. He doesn't want to grow anymore, one of her texts said. Jack's just done. I need someone who still wants more. I smiled reading that. She had no idea how much I still wanted. Just not with her. I met with my lawyer again. This time, no hypotheticals. I handed him a USB drive with labeled folders, affair evidence, separate assets, trust agreements, investment distributions. He raised an eyebrow as he clicked through. You've been busy, he said. I believe in being thorough. You could walk away with almost everything, he said. Especially if we prove infidelity. We won't have to prove it. She'll fold before discovery. He paused. So what do you want? I leaned back. Peace. Position. And for her to know exactly what she threw away. Back home, I started separating the money. Quietly. Moved major investment accounts under my trust. Removed her access to joint credit lines. Reassigned rental property management to my name only. Redirected dividends to a new private LLC. All legal. All mine. Prepared long before she even started lying. When you build the system, you know where all the switches are. She didn't notice. She was too busy playing independent. One night, I watched her get dressed for her book club. Little black dress. Red heels. No earrings. She said they made her feel free. She kissed me lightly on the cheek, like she used to, and said, Don't wait up. I didn't. I opened a folder titled Timeline. Started writing it all down. Dates. Events. Proof. Behavior shifts. By the time she came back that night, hair tousled, cheeks flushed, I had a full outline of how this would end. She didn't suspect a thing. She thought I was either too dumb or too broken to act. That I was still in love, or too soft to strike. That I was just a retired husband who wouldn't make waves. But she'd forgotten who taught her how to plan vacations, how to track spending, how to buy property under market. She'd forgotten who built the life she enjoyed flaunting. She never saw me as dangerous. That was her biggest mistake. I ordered moving boxes. Booked a storage unit across town. Moved out half my wardrobe, my office gear, all my key documents, piece by piece over a week. When she asked why my closet looked lighter, I said I was donating old suits. She smiled. Good. You don't need them anymore. I smiled back. Not for the reason you think. That weekend, she left town for a spa retreat. It was actually a wine getaway with the guy from her texts, Blake Carver, real estate agent, former semi-pro golfer, divorced twice. I followed the GPS ping, then checked the Airbnb listing she forgot to log out of. One king bed, romantic hot tub, ocean view. I didn't even feel anger, just satisfaction. Every step she took deeper into the lie, the quieter my win became. I finalized the paperwork Monday. Divorce papers, asset protection statements, affair documentation, time-stamped and backed up. A letter to her parents, drafted but not sent. A final email with attachments, ready to go. I scheduled the courier for Friday morning. Friday would be our anniversary. 17 years. She'd booked a fancy dinner to reconnect. I'd accepted with a smile. She thought I was still trying. She didn't realize I was simply giving her one last normal moment. Because the next day, nothing would ever be normal again. She wore the red dress I always loved. Hair curled. Eyes bright. Lipstick sharp enough to cut glass. You look stunning, I told her. Because she did. Because it didn't matter anymore. And because I wanted her to remember the last time I'd ever compliment her. We drove to the restaurant in her car. I let her play the music. She chose upbeat jazz, something she thought sounded elegant. She talked most of the way. About wine pairings. About how we should go to Napa now that we have so much time. About a new resort opening in Tulum. I smiled. Nodded. Let her dream. Let her lie. At dinner, she ordered a bottle of Barolo. Told the waiter we were celebrating 17 years. He retired early, she said proudly. We're starting a new chapter. I watched her play the part of the loving wife. To everyone else in that room, we were the perfect couple. Well-dressed. Successful. Still laughing over private jokes. The only difference? She didn't know it was an ending. After dessert, she reached across the table and took my hand. Thank you for tonight, she said. I know I've been tense lately, but I feel like we're getting back on track. I nodded. I'm glad you feel that way. She smiled. The kind of smile you give when you think everything's under control. I held on to it, because I knew what tomorrow would do to it. We got home close to midnight. She lit a candle, poured us both a glass of wine, put on soft music. She leaned in to kiss me, slow, deliberate, like she was trying to reignite something. I kissed her back. Once. Lightly. Then I pulled away. I'm tired, I said. She looked disappointed. Sure. Long night. She turned off the music and went upstairs. I stayed behind, watching the flicker of the candle burn low. Then I opened my laptop, double-checked the documents, confirmed the delivery schedule. 8 a.m. Everything in motion. Morning came quiet. She was still asleep when the doorbell rang. I didn't rush to answer it. The courier waited patiently. Professional. Neutral. I signed. He handed me a thick envelope. Inside, divorce papers, full asset reallocation documents, proof of infidelity, settlement offer, and a personal letter I'd written weeks ago. I added a USB drive, slid it all into a branded folder, and placed it gently on her side of the bed. Then I packed my bag. One suitcase, one backpack, one calm goodbye. She didn't stir until I was at the door. Jack? Her voice was groggy. Where are you going? I turned. Out. I left you something. She sat up, saw the folder, picked it up with sleepy confusion. What is this? I didn't answer. I just looked at her, like a man watching a storm arrive from behind glass. She opened the folder, skimmed the top page, then the second. Her face drained. The wine from last night still on the nightstand. The lipstick now smeared on a pillow. The lie finally cornered. You're divorcing me? She whispered. I'm freeing you, I said. That's what you wanted, right? She shook her head. No, Jack. Wait, we can talk about this. I was just confused. I didn't mean. I raised a hand. No need to explain. Everything's in the folder. Timeline. Evidence. Terms. Tears welled up, but I didn't care. You were planning this the whole time, she said. I nodded once. I planned everything. You just didn't notice. I left. No yelling. No drama. No second thoughts. By 10 a.m., I was in my new condo, unpacking shirts, plugging in my speakers, setting up the coffee machine. By 10:15, she was calling, then texting, then voice messaging. Please, Jack. I didn't know how much you meant to me. Can we at least talk? I was stupid. I didn't realize what I had. She realized now. But that was the whole point. That evening, I posted one photo. Me, standing barefoot on the balcony. Ocean behind me. Coffee in hand. Peace in my eyes. Caption. Retired early. Paid in full. Nothing missing. She saw it. I knew because she liked it. Then unliked it. Then blocked me. But not before she saw the comments. Living the dream. You earned it, man. Goals. This is what freedom looks like. Yes. Freedom earned. Silently taken back. And never owed to the ungrateful again. She showed up at my door 5 days later. Hair messy. Sunglasses on. Hoodie zipped up like she was hiding from the sun or from herself. I didn't invite her in. Please, Jack, she said, her voice cracking. Just 10 minutes. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. You've got two. I made a mistake, she said. I panicked. I didn't know how to handle your retirement. It felt like you were giving up on everything on me. I didn't say a word. I thought you were drifting, that you lost your ambition. I finally spoke. No. I just stopped performing for people who didn't appreciate what I'd already built. Her eyes welled up. You were supposed to build it for us. I did. She pulled out her phone. I ended it with Blake. It was never serious. Just stupid. It meant nothing. Then why did you keep it a secret for months? I asked. She opened her mouth, closed it. No answer. I messed up, Jack. I'm sorry. I was scared. I nodded. Now I think you're just scared to be alone. She blinked, like the air had just been knocked from her lungs. I can't go back to that house, she said quietly. It doesn't feel like home without you. It stopped being home when you started inviting someone else into it. She stepped closer. We can fix this. Please. You don't have to go through with the divorce. I'm not going through anything, I said. I'm already done. Her face froze. You can't just walk away from 17 years like that. I didn't. You did. I just documented it. Later that day, I got a call from her mother. I don't know what happened, she said, but Megan's a wreck. She says you're punishing her. I'm not punishing her. I'm simply choosing myself now. Her mother sighed. She said you left her with nothing. She earned that nothing, I said. There was a pause. Then she whispered, I didn't raise her to be like this. By the end of the week, our mutual friends started calling too. Some tried to be neutral. Some offered sympathy. But most were blunt. I always thought she was too obsessed with status, one friend said. Honestly, Jack, you were too good for her, another told me. I'm glad you got out before it got worse. Turns out, people saw more than I thought. Turns out, nobody was really surprised. Megan started posting cryptic quotes on Instagram. Things like, "Some people change when they lose something real. Healing is not linear. Learning to love myself again." All set against black and white photos of beaches or lonely roads. She turned off comments. I didn't interact, because her healing wasn't my responsibility. Then came the email. Not from her, from her lawyer. She was requesting mediation instead of trial. Less aggressive, more private. She wanted a softer settlement. Too late. I replied through my attorney with a single-page response. No renegotiation. Terms already accepted. Client declines further contact. She tried again the next week. A handwritten letter. Folded, mailed, signed forever. I didn't open it. I dropped it in a drawer next to old receipts, things that used to matter, but don't anymore. I started dating again. Nothing serious. Just dinners, walks, quiet laughter with people who didn't see me as a wallet or a status upgrade. For the first time in years, I felt real. Not needed. Not used. Just seen. One afternoon, while walking along the harbor, I ran into Megan. She was alone. No makeup. No camera-ready smile. Just her. She stopped, startled. "Hi," she said. I nodded. "Hi. You look different." "I feel different." She hesitated. "I'm happy for you." I could tell it hurt to say. "Thanks," I said. "Take care of yourself." I didn't look back. And neither did she. The thing about silence, real silence, is that it doesn't feel empty. It feels earned. It took months to get here. To a place where I no longer reached for my phone wondering if she'd text. To where I didn't flinch at her name in my inbox. To where I could say her name in my head and feel absolutely nothing. My mornings are slower now, not lazy, just quiet. I wake with the sun. Make real coffee, not the rushed kind from a pot. Sit on my balcony, barefoot, letting the wind remind me I'm no longer running anyone's race. And most importantly, I don't owe anyone anything. The divorce was finalized without a single court appearance. She accepted the terms after realizing public exposure would do more harm to her than to me. The assets were split according to the prenuptial we signed back when we were young and honest. She kept the house full of echoes. I kept everything else, including my peace. She tried once more to reach out through mutual friends. "He seems cold," one said on her behalf. No, not cold. Just finished. I traveled after that. Not the kind of travel we used to do, luxury suites and itineraries. I went small. I went quiet. Montana, Oregon, Vermont in the fall. Airbnbs with fireplaces and hiking trails. Books, not emails. Conversations with strangers who didn't ask what I used to do or who I used to be. I started writing again. Nothing formal. Just reflections. I called it the exit blueprint. Not for publication, just for me. One of the pages simply read, "Retirement didn't cost me my marriage. Realizing I was in it alone did." Sometimes people ask if I'd ever remarry. I tell them, I'm not against love. I'm just more selective about who gets a seat at my table. Because now I know. Love without respect isn't love. Support that disappears when the money shifts isn't support. And some people only love the version of you that performs. I ran into Blake Carver once. Grocery store. He didn't recognize me right away. Maybe the beard, or maybe the fact that I wasn't wearing a suit anymore. He smiled awkwardly when he figured it out. I nodded and walked past him. Let the silence follow me like a shadow. No words were needed. He'd already lost. So had she. I heard through someone that Megan left town. Tried to start over in Santa Fe. Teaching yoga full-time. Hosting mindfulness retreats. One of her posts read, "Sometimes the worst decisions lead us to the truest versions of ourselves." Maybe that's true. But I don't follow her anymore. I don't check. Because my story isn't about her now. It's about me. And what it means to start over with nothing but self-respect and the knowledge that I didn't break first. There's a small ritual I keep now. Once a week, I take the folder, the one with everything I gathered, and I put it in my safe. Then I lock it. Not because I need it, but because it reminds me I trusted my instincts. I prepared. And I never let anger turn me into something I'd regret. Every once in a while, someone from the past reaches out. An old coworker. A friend of a friend. They ask, "Man, how'd you bounce back like that?" I tell them the truth. I didn't bounce back. I let go. That's faster. Today, I'm not rich in the way we used to define it. No gala invitations. No luxury car lease. But I sleep well. I breathe deeply. And I smile, not to convince anyone I'm okay, but because I am. And sometimes, that's the best revenge.